Very warmly welcome to our online lifelong study circle. Uh, these are the classes which we do every Sunday in order to fill the gaps for different dimensions of our life which remain unfulfilled or which needs improvement. Those gaps remained there and are there because of some poor education system or because of lack of some awareness in our societies, which things were very important, but we remained unaware about these things, and hence it impact in somehow negatively in our life. So, lifelong study circle has a aim to filling those gaps, and more importantly, we try to see the things in a different paradigms with a different way, and so that we can apply directly in our life. So I'm your host, Amaratib Alishad. I'm with my colleague Jenny Root as well, and Mike as well, and we have also other participant who comes and goes. Uh, so I warmly welcome everyone who is even watching the recording of uh, this broadcast as well. Basically, our this session, this class is on ongoing life, ongoing course which we started few weeks and few months ago on advanced listening skill, and basically the main idea about this is to enhancing our communication skill, and within communication which has our speaking power, our four dimensions of communication: listening, reading, speaking, and hearing. So all these four a different aspect of our communication skill are everybody aware about, but which is extremely lack to enhance is our listening skill. So we are very poor listeners, so therefore we do not help ourselves to build quality relationships. We do not value other speakers' thought because we there are so many blocks, there are so many gaps between myself as a listener and the speaker. So therefore we the main agenda of this course is to know the advanced aspect of the key ideas behind how we can be a truly genuine listener, uh, or what we can say, according to Stephen R. Covey, habit number 5, how we can practice actually habit number 5, which has a title, first seek to understand, then to be understood. So this online course is actually application of habit number 5, which we are trying to enhance in our every Sunday class as well. So let me today we are in week number, let me see. So here is the whole all chapters, and all topics which we covered in last 13 weeks. um, and these 13 weeks have covered a lot of content, from character and communication to empathy, listening, then diagnose, then there are so many other. And recently we finished a mini series within that course, how you become listener you are, in which we learned especially about what level I'm a listener, how I became that level of listener, through self knowledge, through my childhood, through my socialization process, through my schooling, and through my own biases and some filtration, and more importantly, what I have a knowledge about myself. So we call it self knowledge. And that all determines what type of listener I am. Uh, and last time, we did learn about what are the barriers between listener and speaker, and we did highlighted couple of things like what is the correlationship between perception, reception, and attention. So whenever uh, we see or we hear something, this is start with our perception, and then how I perceive my perception through my reception, that is the next stage. And after receiving or a good or poor reception, I interpret and I give attention or not to attention. And that's how this process of perception, reception, and attention, I I'm able to give response poorly or very good or genuinely, that I do. Today we will specifically focus on hearing what you want to hear actually. And from further we will also learn why we do are biased listener, why we do listening with prejudice or our own degree of hatred or love. So that type of thing we will learn today, and that is the one step ahead in order to remove the barrier between listener and speaker. So mostly content which I have taken from the book Listening, The Forgotten Skill by Madelyn Burley Allen, and it is one of the unique book she wrote many years ago, and is still relevant because listening and hearing is with us all the time. So this book is relevant all the time. So that's the title what we are going to cover today, and in addition with biased listening. If we will have a time, then we will cover the biased listening. Otherwise, biased listening we can do next time as well. So right. So let's we have some key uh, paragraphs, and we will read it, and then we will try to understand what do you hear, and what does it mean. We hear what we want to hear, and we often say, oh, excuse me, hello, hello, excuse me, what did you say? We say like this, and we probe to the speaker when we listen or hear something which we are not expecting. But if we are not probing, we are not asking or interfering the speaker, it does mean uh, we we have listened or we have heard something which we were not ready to listen or hear, and therefore, and because of many reasons, and what we hear, basically we want to hear that, and if there is no buts and if between while communicating with each other, it means that is a very ordinary communication, I mean smooth communication is going on, where both sides are expecting what is going to be understand. But usually that type of straightforward listening and speaking is based on very straightforward expectation, and also uh, that is the outcome of the phenomena that we hear what we want to hear, we don't want to hear what we don't want to hear. That is the main thing uh, about have you come across with a difficult person? Let's say you are talking with your enemy, like you always oppose that person, or he or she oppose you, and you come across with each other, and you and he or him, they're trying to talk with each other, and many things you will hear from your enemy straightforwardly, but many things you won't expect from him or her. The same thing he or she is experiencing about you, and that is not because of poor listener. That is because you were the listener what you want to hear, and you don't want to be a listener what you don't want to hear. Or if I want to add, you, because you were the biased listener, therefore you hear very selectively, very selectively what you were looking for, and you did ignore the speaker all other thoughts, but you really didn't want to listen or want to hear. And that's the attitude we have in our personal life. When I'm talking with my husband, when I'm talking with my children, when I'm talking with my wife, when I'm talking with my customer, with my colleague, we hear what we want to hear. We don't want to hear what we don't want to hear. And if I'm hearing it, I'm hearing very selectively with biasness. And that is a reflection of my character on my communication as a listener. And that will decide how poor communication skill I have, or the level of a good listener I am. That all depends. We will read all these things from the text from of that book, very important text. Uh, so let's start to read that text, and I'm not going to narrate and explain about biased listening, because it will come after 10 minutes or after three paragraphs which we are going to read. First, we will focus on a first part of our today's class, hearing what you want to hear. This is very important, and if you are very sincere communication skill expert, or a normal leader at your own level, and you are a deep thinker, and you just observe that what type of things you hear while you are listening the news on the TV, or somebody is talking with you, what sort of reaction you do, and on what position or the stages of the communication you respond to the speaker, and why you do, um, why you don't respond, or you understand fully with the speaker's all talks what she or he is talking, why only you are selective on particular thing. That is we are going to learn today, isn't it? It's very interesting. So let's try to understand this, and I will ask my colleague Jenny if she can start reading.
Hearing what you want to hear. As you discovered in the preceding quiz, a listening barrier exists when someone hears what he wants to hear, not what is really communicated. Barriers to listening happen because of one or several filters. For example, past experience filters can make a listener become anxious to hear something that fulfills his or her wishes or desires. This often happens in business settings where one person is selling merchandise to another and the salesperson wants the sale to be as large as possible. Gina related to this story.
Yeah. Oh, this is a coincidence. Gina is there in the story. So let's see.
Hey, great name, by the way.
It is. Or I call often Jenny because here in UK, many people with Jenny pronunciation, they also spell their name like this. So, but
Right.
I didn't know that in America, people, call it Gina or something. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so this is a quick story, and then after that, Mike will read the next paragraph. So, uh, yeah, Jenny, you can start this quick reading of the story.
I was working on the order desk for a company that supplied materials for large conferences. 1 week before, my supervisor had checked with a client about how many packets they needed for their program. She was told that they had only 8 registrants. However, they expected more, and she was asked to check back with them. My supervisor was called from out of town, and I was asked to follow up on this client. Well, I checked with them for the number of registrants they had now. The client told me 18. In my desire to sell the most materials possible, I heard 80. Three of us spent 3 hours getting the materials ready. When the delivery man brought the materials to the client, he was told they only needed 18 packets, not the 80 we had prepared. I could have fallen through the floor when he told me. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great reading. So, like Jenny just has read this story. Uh, this is just a very ordinary and simple example. You hear what you want to hear based on your passion, based on your high expectation from the situation or from your client. And usually, even when I talk with my customer over the phone, especially because on the phone you have not very clear voice from the recipient and to the listener both. So when you talk that, oh hi, it will cost 18 pounds. So other person expect I said 80 because they were expecting higher, and therefore their ears want to listen 80, not 18, because they are not expecting 18. And that's all happen very naturally. But sometimes you feel embarrassment, like in this quick real story, the author she's narrating here the idea, and that happens in every relationship, not in office. Uh, Even though if even your boss, what he or she is expecting from the employee or the worker, and during the communication both misunderstood as well because of what they want to hear. They hear it, but actually it in reality it was not spoken, and we often have a very misunderstanding and embarrassment as well. This is a key idea behind. Uh, uh, Actually, it's not the idea; it's a pure reality in our human weaknesses regime, which we have built within ourselves. That we want to hear what we are hearing, we want to hear, and that is also very much related. We see what we want to see, what we tend to see, that we only see. What we don't want to see, we don't see. So it not only confined on only on your ears skills or capacity to hear. It happens on your eye as well. And therefore many people watching the same object have a different understanding because of their character, because of their own self experience, because of their own self knowledge, their own perception, their own reality. They look the object very differently, and hence they watch differently, they hear differently, and all five senses operate in the same way. Our five senses, which make us a very rational human being, are five: what we taste, what we smell, what we watch, what we hear, how we touch, and we experience through touching. these all are, um, they feel what they want to feel, and we are here focusing only listening. So therefore I have these antennas on my face. If you see, they only operates what we want to listen, and we often feel very very wrong, based on my own passion, based on my own biasness as well. So let's see what is the conclusion of this quick story from author of this book has just said. So I would ask Mike if he can read it.
Gina expected to hear a large number because of her anticipation and desire to fill a large order. This caused to hear her incorrectly, or to hear incorrectly. As a result, the company lost 3 hours of work by 3 people. Gina could have avoided a loss of 3 hours work or a great deal of embarrassment had she used the clarifying technique. When the client said how many packets they wanted, she could have said, "Let me make sure how many packets you want delivered. Was the number 80? The client would have corrected her right then and there, and the problem would never have occurred."
Absolutely, it's a great reading. So, uh, in our example, the Jenny, she, felt embarrassment, and they lost labor or time which we did, and also waste of money and time because of this thing. And this is just a very simple and ordinary example at workplace, but we do every day we in our life. Therefore, on a workplace, the phenomena of voice recording is very very important nowadays, because whatever, when I'm taking a call from the customer, I tend, as an entrepreneur or as a business leader or as a manager, I want to record, and so that we can listen and re-listen and hear again and again, in case if we are misjudging the other person message, or other way of tone, or they, or what we have new expectation for my customer. Or maybe I'm taking a oath over the phone or doing a consent, and we can record it, and so that if we have a conflict in future, we have a evidence, look what we did. And even after that we have still many problem, like customer did a oath over phone or had have a consent, especially let's say insurance company who takes the policy, and who book the policy over the phone, and then they also speak, listen very carefully, I'm going to read it, you need to understand, and are you, do you have a fully understanding, and you are agree, and I'm signing it for this policy, and we will send you a one copy in your email and by post and blah. And later, after a couple of weeks or month, customer come back and say, oh hey, um, I didn't commit on this, and you said, oh no, you, we have a recording, you did commit over the phone. And actually, but what my point is here, the customer did hear what he or she wanted to hear from the policy maker, and later, for the security and the safety, the policy maker sent them the recording. Look, sir or madam, we have a recording, I can present you, you did, and I said very clearly the same thing, and you said you understand. But what happened actually, the customer understood wrongly, incorrectly, or customer wanted to hear what they wanted to hear on that time, and that is a problem we face everywhere in every situation as well. I'm sure you may have many examples in your practical life as well, when you felt embarrassed, or because of you were speaker, other felt embarrassed, uh, not because of they listen incorrectly. What I'm saying, they listened what they wanted to listen, and they listened, and they were naturally right, and they thought they have listened correctly, but in fact they listen incorrectly, and that's is our main point of focus today. I hope you understand this important listening skills, one of dimension which you uh, uh, have read on in the book. Now we have a next topic about biased listening, and biased listening is more advanced and of course related with our today's topic as well, because it is a next stage what you want to hear. And what does it mean by biased listening? When well, I mean, it looks like is a little awkward topic, but it is very important and based on reality which we do. We have couple of paragraphs in this, and there are many topics related in bias listing, because there are some red flag words and there are some green flag words, which we often say in our while we are communicating, while we are listening. And until we listen these red flag words, or these red offensive words, which in my dictionary is red, but maybe it's not read in other person's life dictionary. And because of that conflict, we we become a poor seller, we become a poor partner, we become a very poor parent as well. So that we need to understand bias listening. So I think maybe we have less time. If we started bias listening, then we need maybe 20-25 time, 25 minutes. Maybe we can turn into the next Sunday. What do you think? Or you shall we start this bias listening?
Well, you were running with next Sunday, right, Meritib? Or do
Yeah.
you want to do it now?
Hmm. Um, what we can do, we can start it like just introduced what this is about, and the details and examples and application we can read next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we at least have some curiosity, that that I need to I mean learn next week, because this is important. So uh, the bias listening. Okay, I have a. Okay, we have a quick definition and then example. Okay, um, and then we have. Okay. Let's see. Maybe we can quickly wrap up the whole topic in next 5-10 minutes, because it is more related with what we just covered, hearing what we want to hear. Um, so let's try to see if we can quickly read it without going into more extra details. So I would ask Mike if you can start reading, and then Jenny will read the next paragraph, and then we'll see. We will finish quickly. Oh, hi, Angela, on a Facebook. Hi, Ray Chua. They are watching on Facebook. Very welcome to my session. We have a audience on Zoom where we read on the screen as well. But on Facebook, only you can hear them who are reading the book, or you can hear and watch me while I'm speaking here. So, very welcome to my session. So, yeah, Mike, carry on, please.
Biased listening. Another block to listening occurs when we form an opinion about the level and value of what will be said. We label the information ahead of time as unimportant, too boring, too complex, or nothing new, and we are anxious for the speaker to get to the point. Our listening can be biased because of a negative experience we have had with a person we are communicating with. We can often let our negative past experiences filter through into a present situation. These negative past experiences are held subconsciously in our heads. This results in biased listening because we aren't totally in the here and now with that person. Stephen related this following example.
Yeah. Yeah. Continue for this example, this quick example, Mike.
I have a technician from another department who takes what seems forever to return my calls. These calls have to do with information I need to complete my part of the projects we are both working on. Instead of bringing up my frustration to him directly, I let my feelings burn inside of me, mainly my stomach. Whenever were in a project meeting, I wouldn't listen to him. As a result, I missed hearing important details. Then I'd have to call him to get those missed details. Talk about putting yourself in a no-win situation. I guess it's time for me to bring up the issue and work through it.
Thank you. It's a great reading, Mike. So I think it's very clear that because we tend to have a biased listening capacity all the time because of our own personal biasness against person or some over expectation from the speaker or from the situation, um, or, uh, or same boring things we expect. So because we try, we intend to decide earlier, before things happen, we early become too judgmental about the person, about the situation. That's why we take this biasness during when actually it's happening, in a present condition, and we don't get a benefit of the present situation, and that finish with the waste of time of from the speaker in a workplace where every hour, and every time and day and meetings has a cost, financial cost, and also your humanistic energy cost. That all goes waste when other person is biased against you. Usually, when let's say you become a project manager by your boss, where your other colleague wanted to become a project manager, but now in the meeting, the other colleague uh, who is now biased or who is jealous of you in the meeting will give you a tough time, uh, whether putting the boring or irrelevant question or difficult question to interrupt you, or totally think that you don't deserve to give my attention, and while he is better to use the mobile during the meeting rather than to give you the respect what you are presenting in the meeting. And that happens in everyday life. It happened with me many times when I was presenting a lot of information sessions with my professors when I served 5 years with my university. So some of my colleagues, they were putting the pebbles and throwing their annoyingness, their jealousy, their biasness to me, and putting the unnecessary, irrelevant, and hilarious type of commenting while I'm presenting. So that all become of biased listening. Biased listening is a reflection of your past, Biased listening is a reflection something badly happened, negatively experienced you did, and now you, because you can't rid of this past, so now you are uh, perceiving the current present through the biased lens, what through your ear, through your eyes, and through your body language. And that happened with the same example which Mike has just read, that the technician was totally biased, and he during the meeting, they I mean the guy, he did not listen to him because of grudge or frustration or something, and that happened. So let's do quickly finish this, I think, and I can ask Jenny if you can read it further so that we can finish this topic as well.
As you can see from the examples above, a biased listener tends to distort the message positively or negatively, often getting so emotionally involved that listening efficiency suffers. Certain emotionally laden words, sometimes referred to as red flag or buzzwords, can evoke strong feelings and thus create barriers to effective listening. We sometimes respond to a word or phrase in a way that has been conditioned by our past experiences. In other words, we have attached meanings to the same word from prior emotion laden situations. Sometimes words can affect listeners to such an extent that their reactions will result in level 3 listening, as their emotions are causing internal distractions to occur, thus interfering with level 1 listening. Unconsciously, we tune out what we negatively label.
Excellent. That's a very good reading. Thank you, Jenny. So, it's very important to know what I earlier said, that there are some words which the listener or listener psyche wants to hear in order to have a positive or negative outcome of the conversation, with the wife, with the husband, with the boss, during the meeting, with the customer, with the new deal. If other person does listen these musical words like, oh, I love you, oh, no, 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 darling, that's, it does not happen, or something very attractive and very um, um, I mean loving related, affection related, sincerely related words which we speak, which have a good moral grounds, then the you win the trust, you gain the trust of the customer, and customer is more happily to sign on the contract or agree to buy your product or service. However, if you used any negative language during the conversation, and you use specific uh, things, specific red flag words, uh, mostly negative or red flag words, almost all have a negative experience with them. For example, we used, if I'm talking as a seller to the person to sell my product and service, I'm using word hatred. Um, I hate it. Oh, or I use not words or more negative sentences I'm using, more passive sentences I'm using, more. My body language is not very positive through my words. So customer either even your product and service is so great and person was willing to buy it, but at the last stage he or she will decide with doubts, no, no, that's it's look like I mean there is, it's a dodgy thing, is a uh, for example, in our UK, London, where I am based, uh, many people, they use very typical word all the time. Oh, he's very dodgy. Or she's a dodgy. Or dodgy mean when you have a doubt and you hear some red flag words or situation sounds and it vibrates, then you conclude, you do, you judgment, You do the judgment with the other person are dodgy, or he's a dodgy guy, don't buy things from him. Or in a market there are lot of dodgy people. So that dodgy is the judgment sentence after hearing some negative word from the guy. Obviously that is a biased, based on the biased hearing, biased listening from her, because uh, because biased listening process and happens unconsciously. You don't choose to be biased. Always remember, you are biased without your conscious will. I mean, you even don't know that you are going to tuning out that situation, but you decide with your biasness, and that's happened with all people. So therefore we have to live with conscious life. We have to live with consciousness all the time, with open ear, open eyes, uh, open awareness within my mind, that I'm deciding based on the reality with no biasness, and I receive, I conceive, I perceive the situation based on accurate data without my prejudice. Then, and without becoming judgmental. Uh, and then, whatever you will decide very wisely. That time we say you are a very wise person, because wise person does not have any prejudice or biasness. And biasness also, listening happens for when you have a racial mind as well, and that racial could be because of many aspect. Maybe you are biased against women or men. Maybe you are biased against other certain ethnicity. Maybe you are biased against a skin color. Maybe you are biased because of nationality, or language you speak. Maybe you are biased because of any other people which you don't like in historical perspective, or you are biased because of the religion you follow, or blah blah. So there are so much capacity, you can become biased very easily. Anyway, you don't know that you have decided based on your personal grudges. You hear what you wanted to hear. You are listener, but you are not a genuine listener. You are not an empathic listener. You are totally a biased listener, and that therefore you will lose many golden people. Therefore, you deserve not to work with you, because you are too judgmental. You think that I'm black. You think that I'm brown, so I cannot be smarter. You think that I belongs to that country, therefore I cannot be a smarter. I cannot work with you. You are such a, you know, so that we can't stop the other person, and that start to heat between two people, that start to heat between two parties, and that start to, or to have heat between husband and wife as well, when they, and especially husband and wife is a best example, because men maybe tend to have biased uh, against a wife, and he may have a major, what we call it, who do not like women, misogynistic, something like, I think, if I'm pronouncing correctly. So because of that attitude, maybe he will be listening very very through a filtered process, whatever the wife is describing, because he has decided that all women are like this. So I will close my eyes, I will close my ear when I will be talking with my wife, because I know all wives are like this. So that biasness, and look at the quality of relationship between that type of husband and wife. very pathetic, very, very ordinary, and very easily to break as well. And that's all because of this biased listening. So there is a exercise for you. This exercise you can do, and there are a couple of words you can use while you can decide which words are very biased against about in situation. So following are the words that may be emotionally charged. You for everyone or majority of people, take a moment to check the ones that are red flag words for you. Which are red flag words for you? So you can do right now, and add any other you found that that have an emotional impact on people or emotional impact on you when anybody use these words. Uh, so these are words on the list. I can read for you for my Facebook watcher. They are so first word is you should, have to, have got to, are supposed to, must. So these are the words which we use in our sentences. And if somebody listen or you listen, how you find it, how you take it. Um, Other word is irresponsible. You lack. Your weaknesses are. Some of the words are more. You are a failure. You never. You always. Uh, you fail to understand. You stupid. You dumb. You claim. I demand from you. You are confused totally. Every time you are always like this. Sissy, you do this all the time. Thoughtless, rude. So these are some of the red flag words which everybody has a different perception. And you need to decide which type of words you are biased with. Um, and maybe some words are less offensive for you, and some people have a more offensive word for you as well. So we call them red flag words. Um, can you type in the comment that what type any three word red flag word for you which you really consider and you have a very negative experience with those words. Can you just type anybody just three words? So Jenny is saying irresponsible is the word, or Mike say I demand. Yeah. So what about for Angela John and Ri Chua? What are the red words for you? Yeah, Mike says there is a red word. You do this all the time. Yeah, usually that type of word or expression, uh, the children say to the parents, "Oh, mom, you do all this time. Uh, you always do think that I'm like this something." So these are, but obviously every situation or every relationship is very, very different. So and there are so many words, for example, between if husband and wife and they are in heated discussion, for to just isolate the other person, you can say I hate you, and that is a very, very negative and red flag word for someone. And after I hate you means my we are now moving to opposite direction. And some people have a very I mean other type of negative word as well nowadays. we do swear a lot, uh, and while we are dealing, we use F word a lot, and some people are compromised on F word. They say it's a part of our everyday language, but some people are very strict on this F word, and they never tolerate this word. And nowadays, in our soaps and on dramas on TV, the F word is now very much frequently using without any censorship. So some words are socially being accepting, but it is not because of the meanings behind these words. I think it is because we are more adaptive negatively when we are frequently interact with those negative words all the time. That's why we are doing, uh, and especially when you watch any news, any series on Netflix or other, you will on a caption you will read swear language, mild language, um, and also other form of genre of the media as well. But language is very important, of course, and you have to decide that what type of words you cannot tolerate. And but all these words are the reflection of your insight, your own character. And you can ask your question as well, that do your reaction match any of the following example? uh, if so, check the ones that you do and then develop an affirmative plan to deal with the behavior pattern as. So it is your homework for that. There are some sentences which I'm going to say now, and what reaction do your reaction match any of the following example? So these are the examples. Um, Number one, I say to myself, he's right, I'm stupid. I guess I will never be able to get things done right. So this is one of the situation. The other situation, you need to see your reaction or observe your reaction. Who is she is talk to me that way? I will show her. That is another situation, and we also say like this. Another one of the word sentence we do, I stop thinking and my emotions take over, which interferes with my listening to much of what the other person is saying. That also we do. Another sentence we do, I become defensive and start thinking of ways to justify my behavior. So that is another way as well. I have another one. I I identify with my negative behavior or mistake and feel that I'm bad and really not okay. That is another one. But last and not the least, I'm puzzled by what he is saying. I think of the most appropriate response to make in order to stay in charge of my feelings and the interactions. And there are many things we can do. Uh, and there are clearly red flag words with negative experience as well. Um, so these negative red flag words we have to get rid of. I know we all are biased. I know we all are um, we all are have in somehow negative experience with specific words and the tone of the language. But remember, all these words does not have negative meaning as such on the behind, because you allow to make these words offensive for you. You have allowed these words to disturb you. You have allowed not to bypass these words and go on further. So this is my weakness. This is my limitation. This is my uh, prejudice. This is my negative attitude about life, that I have so many red words in my dictionary, in my life dictionary. And other person, whether he or she is your wife, he or she is your partner, he or she is your daughter or son, or your colleague or your boy, they use them. They use and they play. They play by using these red words because you have allowed this. So I'm trying to coach you. You need to identify red flag words in your life. After finishing this session, you may sit 5 or 10 minutes separately in a private place and look at what type of words you don't like and you have negative experiences associate with those words, and just write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and think consciously, and then rethink that if these words used by someone, my wife, my husband, my parent, my children, my boss, my colleague, I will ignore it. So try to uh, try to face the fear. Try to face the negativity of the situation which these words creates, because these words are not only words, these are the obstacles in your life. These are like a weapon of your personality destruction, because when anybody use this word in front of you, you disconnect from that person. You and it and these words are caused to break up the relationship which you are, whether as a seller or as a customer or as a partner or something. So these words are so important to identify. So this is your homework for your home in order to enhance communication skills and in order to free up you from the biased listening. Of course, biased listener is not a good terminology I need to associate with me. It's it's the same thing like you don't want other people to call you angry person, or other person call you a bad or bad words with your personality. Of course, you want other person to remember you with the nice words, with the nice feelings, isn't it? So biased listener is also a negative term, and that creates a lot of barriers between you and the speaker. So as a listener, you have to you have you must have a control to removing all these red flagged words which are based on not as such itself words. These red words are like a knife. Knife itself is nor good or nor bad. Knife is good or bad when you use it for negative or positive things. If you are cutting vegetables or fruit with a knife, it is a great thing. But if you are uh, stabbing someone with a knife, of course, that is a negative thing. But knife itself is a neutral. So similarly, the red flag words, we have given them meaning. Yeah. So don't perceive them negatively, because once you perceive or associate a negative words with your character, that will always offensive for you, and other person, your husband, your wife, your children, your boss, your employee, your customer, they will use it to hurt you. They will use to control you. So that is the thing. That's it for today. Um, so let me come with you. Let me see. Um, Let me see what I can do. Okay. Yeah. So the next week we will continue to discover the advanced listening skill, uh, and we will read this one. I think that we have done already. Uh, so we will be reading and try to understand style of listening, and you can identify as well that what type of listener you are. Um, So, style of listening, we will be reading next week. So, do you have any question? What we describe here, what we learned today about what do you think about? Are you willingly? Are you ready to remove the barriers between yourself as a listener and the speaker? Do you want to create a quality relationship? Do you want not to associate any um, or not to connect with any red flag words because you don't want to control yourself through that red words? For example, tomorrow if somebody say to you, you are such an irresponsible person. So irresponsible, why you allow this word irresponsible to control you, to feel negatively? That you need to work on this. For example, for me, if somebody say, "You are such a dumb," you are uh, such a dash word. Why I'm allowing and I have added that word as a red word, as a sensitive word in my dictionary? That because of I'm a biased listener and I don't want to be. So this is the thing what we want to say. Next week we will continue style of listening, and also now we will read opposite green flag words. I will bring the psyche behind green flag word. For example, uh, if I was talking with someone and suddenly I make my tone very soft and positive, and I start to say, "Oh, hey, I love you." Suddenly the situation is totally different because "I love you" has a very green flags and positive vibes behind it, isn't it? So, and that will not make me biased because these positive vibes are good for everyone, and that make us more emotional, that make us more uh, good communicator while I'm as a listener. So we will read these green flag words, and we will also try to do some exercise. What are green flag words contribution in my life, and what are actually these green flag words for me? What are uh, the positive energy behind this, and why they are? So that we will read next week with it. So that's it for today, and I think because we have done this for an hour, maybe we will the second session we will do next week, which was on a pain body, which is the last episode for last episode for managing the pain body or identifying the pain body topic, which is an online course we are reading. But obviously, lack of time, I think we cannot continue or start this. So hopefully we will do this next class with two sessions. One, this advanced listening skill, and the other one, the pain body, will continue as well. Uh, so anybody has any question or want to comment? All right. So at the last, if you are watching me and you there is a link behind uh, under my video of my joining YouTube channel. Now we have started another initiative. We are on Meetup portal as well. So my mostly events or classes are also organized on Meetup portal, where people can access me, or online study circle they can join as well. Especially, I'm trying to take attention from my local people within London, but it is also for any person who is not living in UK even, because Meetup portal is globally everywhere. So that's it. Thank you very much, and see you next Sunday with a new topic and new class content. Thank you.
Thank you, Meritib. Bye,
Thank
Mike.
you. Thank you.
You guys have a great week.
Yeah, thank you. You
You
too.
too, Gina. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Meredith.
Bye. Bye, Mike.